In both my personal and professional experience, there tends to be a pattern when a victim leaves an abusive dynamic, whether it be an intimate partner relationship, seeks for a divorce from an abuser, or is trying to get away from an abusive family member or family dynamic, or it could even be a former friend or coworker or workplace setting that's destructive and the victim is trying to get away. What often happens is the victim will then, once they get out of the scenario that's dangerous or abusive, they will be attacked in 5 different areas. And those areas are also similar in smear campaigns and gang stalking situations. And when I've worked with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking victims, it's almost predictable what you can expect once that victim leaves, the 5 areas of their life that will be attacked and similarly spread in a smear campaign in a gang stalking situation. And I unfortunately have a personal level of experience going through this, and my worst nightmare came true when my former abusers got together and decided to engage in a gang stalking situation against me for the purpose of theft. But I speak on both a personal and professional level on this topic because there seems to almost be a predictability in these 5 areas. And I'm going to do a 5-part series to address each one in more depth. But the first is the financial stability of the victim. So there's going to be attack on the victim's ability to manage money, or they can't hold a job, or, the efforts to get them fired from their job, calling their job, harassing them at their job to create instability that they can't hold a job. Secondly, there's going to be attacks on parenting, and this is where you're going to see in custody cases an abuser is really going to go hard to paint a victim in a certain light as being a negligent or a bad parent, and even if throughout the relationship or marriage they gave the victim card after card praising them as a parent and a wife, suddenly when that victim wants out, they're a bad parent, and that abuser will go to great lengths to create a new storyline, to create fabricated evidence or scenarios to make the victim look that way. Next, the abuser is going to paint the victim as being promiscuous, oh, they're easy, and slut shaming them, and yeah, they've got diseases and they're dirty and they're going to tell anyone who will listen. And next, they're going to attack substance abuse issues, whether they're real or not. If a victim has no history of substance abuse issues, they're going to create a new storyline claiming that they do. Or if a victim has had a history of that and has been working through recovery, that abuser is definitely going to use that information in a custody matter against that victim. And lastly, the attacks on the mental health of the victim. Very common in smear campaigns and custody cases, you're going to hear an abuser suddenly be making allegations that they're crazy, they're unstable, they're this, they're that, and using that against the victim. And, whether it's a smear campaign or whether it's in a custody matter or just rumors being spread throughout the community just to damage and tarnish the name of the victim, whether it's within their family group, their friend group, their job, it is highly detrimental to the victim and warrants me addressing each in more depth. But today I'd like to really focus on the sexual degradation because to me that is the most deviant and dangerous thing an abuser can do. And a victim has worked hard to get out of an abusive relationship. They've already been through so much, and it's not easy to get out. But once a victim gets out, that's when it starts to get really hard because the abuse doesn't stop. The abuser just starts abusing them in a different way. And, these smear campaigns and attacks on their character and reputation are one way they achieve that in order to maintain control of the victim. And by sexually degrading a victim, what an abuser is trying to do is to limit the victim's ability to ever find love and be in a healthy relationship in the future. An abuser definitely does not want that for the victim. So what they're going to do is paint this narrative that they're, promiscuous, or that tell lies that they have diseases that they don't have, and create this whole new storyline. And what that's going to do is narrow the dating pool for the victim in a very dangerous way, because it's going to limit those of good quality having interest in the victim because their reputation has been tarnished so badly. And number two, those that are going to have interest in the victim are going to be of lower quality and treat that victim with less respect. They're going to have, certain expectations of the victim and objectify the victim, sexualize the victim, overly sexualize them. And this puts a victim at risk because they've been seen or labeled as worthless or lowered in respectable status. They're now prone to an increase in sexual harassment and the potential to sexual assault, to be sexually assaulted. And it's incredibly dangerous and deviant that an abuser would do this to a victim to permanently taint them in such a way that they would be at greater increased risk of being abused in a future relationship, of being assaulted in a future relationship. And it's really scary and dangerous. And the most dangerous abusers of all will take it one step further, and they'll take intimate photos or footage of the victim, which the victim may or may not even be aware exist or have consented to, and spread it all throughout a community online. They'll put the victim on dating sites. They'll put them on explicitive sites. They'll even sometimes make a profit selling images of the victim without their knowledge or consent. And then they'll turn around and say, like, look, see, they're so promiscuous. Look what they're doing. They're prostituting themselves. I put them on this escort site. You don't know I did it, but look at what they're doing. And it's so incredibly damaging to a victim in their future prospects of a career, relationship. It's just the most wicked, destructive thing an abuser can do to a victim. So if we as a culture normalize shutting down this degradation, if you hear somebody sexually degrading another human being, don't entertain it, shut it down. I don't want to hear it. There's no reason that a relationship can't end and there still be a respectable level of treatment toward one another. There's no reason that once a relationship ends, it becomes necessary to destroy a person. And an abuser becomes committed. Their life commitment is now to destroy that victim that got away from them. That they have to keep that control and do whatever they can to control any area of that victim's life, because they don't want them to get a good job or have a healthy future relationship or succeed in any area of their life, because then that abuser sees it as they've lost. It's all about winning to them. And if the victim is successful in life, then maybe something will be perceived as being wrong with that abuser, and they don't want that. Their image being protected is really important to them. So I would just encourage us as a society to shut down sexual degradation of other human beings, because we don't want to support somebody who is placing another individual at an increased risk of being sexually harassed and potentially sexually assaulted or abused or just treated less than in future relationships because of a bitter former partner or abusive family member or whatever the case may be.